Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. First I need to apologize to anybody that watches my videos. I've been having some technical issues the entire week. I don't know if my computer has a bug, my mic, I don't know what's going on. I have somebody looking at the issues right now to fix everything. I made a video yesterday, so if today's video seems kind of similar, that's because it is. I did not like the sound quality yesterday. With that being said, let's get back to football, and you have my sincere apologies. So Jerry Dulac, he writes an article yesterday saying that Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with the George Pickens trade. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that Jerry Dulac had to even write that article to explain to the fans that Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with that. I'm under the impression that if the world ran out of oxygen, that the entire world and media would blame Aaron Rodgers for that. If we had a water shortage, somehow it would be Aaron Rodgers' fault. Have you been watching Steeler football? Have you been paying attention to the Pittsburgh Steelers? We're talking about George Pickens. The guy that makes these gestures every time he makes a big play, costs his team 15 yards. The same guy that shows up for practice late. The same guy that shows up for games late. That George Pickens. Did you really want the Pittsburgh Steelers, Art Rooney, and Coach Tomlin, and Omar Khan to invest $130 million in that type of player that's not even dependable to show up to practice or for games? The Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely made the right decision in trading for DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is an absolute stud. He puts the team first. He shows up to practice every day. He works his butt off. He's super respectful to his teammates, the organization, Art Rooney, Coach Tomlin, and he understands what a blessing it is to make that kind of money in the NFL. I predict that DK Metcalf will have 12 touchdowns this year. He'll go for over 1,100 yards just between him and Aaron Rodgers. They're going to have a sensational season, and give George Pickens time to do what George Pickens does. It'll be the same old George in Dallas. It'll be the fans' fault. It'll be Jerry Jones's fault. It'll be Dak's fault. It'll be the offensive line's fault. It'll be racism's fault. It'll be everybody else's fault but George Pickens and his dad's fault when he does not do well on the Dallas Cowboys or when things fall apart, and trust me, they will. The thing that makes me the maddest about George Pickens is the entire city of Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh fan base, the coaching staff, Art Rooney, Coach Tomlin, we all wanted George Pickens to be successful, and that wasn't good enough for him or his dad. George Pickens doesn't deserve to wear the black and gold. He doesn't deserve to play for Coach Tomlin. He doesn't deserve to be part of Art Rooney's organization, and he doesn't deserve the support from the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base. So everybody needs to take a deep breath and stop blaming Aaron Rodgers for everything when Aaron Rodgers had nothing to do with George Pickens being traded at all. The only two people who everyone should blame for George Pickens being traded to another team are George Pickens and his father. And the only reason why I'm addressing this right now is because these articles keep coming up. If it was up to me, I would never talk about George Pickens again because I absolutely cannot stand him. He could take that act to Dallas, his little diva routine, his narcissistic routine. It's all about George 24/7. He could take that show to Dallas, and I'm officially done with George Pickens. So Iowa Hawkeyes head coach Kirk Ferentz, who's put a lot of players in the NFL from the University of Iowa, he knows talent when he sees it, and he has said he expects the best to come for Y.A. Black because pretty much his entire time at Iowa, he was a little banged up. Kirk Ferentz says he's had some injuries he's had to deal with during his time here, and maybe I'm old-fashioned, I know, but I do believe guys get better when they practice. I just believe it. The more you play and the more you practice, the better you get. He also went on to say, I just think there's more there, Ferentz said of Black. I think he can still play faster and can play more fluidly, and I think that's waiting for him. So to me, a little bit more time, a little bit more experience. He's going to take another step of learning all those types of things, but I think you'll see continued growth and development with him. And I absolutely agree. The most important element of any athlete is not just his physical play, his intensity, his explosiveness, his awareness, his instincts. It's your attitude. If you don't have the right attitude, you're not going anywhere, George Pickens. Y.A. Black seems to be a Pittsburgh Steeler through and through, a great character guy, a great addition to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Beanie Bishop says that the Pittsburgh Steelers are adding new wrinkles to their defense, new blitzes, new zone schemes, new man coverage. It was kind of hard last year to do anything when you have guys like Cam Sutton who are freelancing the entire season, blitzing whenever they want, not being where he's supposed to. And elite quarterbacks or just average quarterbacks can pick that up and burn you for big plays. So it's kind of hard to add those sprinkles to your defense, and not just other defensive backs. The big issue you heard all season, and we heard it from Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick said the defense last year didn't like to communicate. And if you don't communicate this year, you're not going to be on the field and you're not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the additions that they have made, they have gotten a lot better in the secondary with a lot more professional players. Just when I say professional, obviously they're all professional. I mean the way they handle themselves. Minkah Fitzpatrick was saying he couldn't even get a thumbs up from other defensive backs when they were going to do certain things. That's super unprofessional. It's inexcusable, and stuff like that falls back on Coach Tomlin's shoulders for the types of players that he brings in, because every single player that comes into the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, they don't come there unless Coach Tomlin wants them there. And I agree with Minkah Fitzpatrick. As soon as you see a defensive back or a defensive player that doesn't communicate, he needs to be benched immediately. And if you got to get rid of him to send a message, you get rid of him. You're paid to play defense. You're paid to communicate with your teammates. It's called being a professional. Act like a professional. Beanie Bishop went on to say, we're throwing in a couple new calls. Beanie Bishop told Mike DeFabo of The Athletic recently about the Steelers' defense, some new zones, a couple new mans, and a couple new blitzes and things like that. Obviously, teams are going to be prepared for certain things. Like we never seen the Steelers run this. The Pittsburgh Steelers really need to mix up their blitz packages and their coverages. For, the prime example, everybody's down on Minkah Fitzpatrick, but when the play starts, Minkah Fitzpatrick is 17 to 20 yards off the ball. He stays in the same spot the entire time. Now, fine, he takes away that part of the field because the quarterback really never looks to that part of the field. Wherever Minkah is, the quarterbacks don't look over there. But if you want to get Minkah Fitzpatrick interceptions, you got to mix up those coverages and bring people on pressure and on blitzes from different areas. And I really hope the Pittsburgh Steelers, I hope it's true, because it's time to mix things up and go back to the Blitzburgh defense that we all love. The Seattle Seahawks GM on DK Metcalf trade, the Pittsburgh Steelers were really aggressive. Nothing brings me more joy than hearing that the Pittsburgh Steelers are being aggressive, whether it's on the field or off the field. When I hear the word aggressive and Steelers in the same sentence, it brings me so much joy, you have no clue. Seahawks GM John Snyder joined the 3 and Out podcast with John Middlehoff on YouTube to discuss how the trade went down and gave some insight on the Steelers in the process. In regards to DK, we had a ton of conversations last offseason about his legacy, where he wanted to go. Once he met the new coaching staff, he was excited. And then this year, it just happened. And again, you can't change the way people think as much as we love him and want to have him here. When people want to leave, it's difficult to try to convince them to stay. Schneider said, once we got back from the NFL Combine, we had another real open talk. And then we told him we would concede to his wishes. No promises, but we'll see where it goes. Pittsburgh, Omar, those guys were really aggressive. I love hearing that the Pittsburgh Steelers were super aggressive in signing DK Metcalf, because they know DK Metcalf is going to be the new bully of the AFC North at the wide receiver position, just like how Derrick Henry is at the running back position. I expect huge things from DK Metcalf, It's going to be a great tandem between Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. I predict that DK Metcalf is going to have one of the greatest seasons ever for a Pittsburgh Steeler receiver. Joey Porter Sr. goes on Cam Hayward's podcast yesterday. He names 3 teammates who define what a Steeler looks like. He went on to say Hines Ward, he's going to be a tone setter. He's going to let you know there's no dirty job that I won't do. Porter said on Cam Hayward's Not Just Football podcast about the Steelers who embody the ideal. He's going to wire somebody's you-know-what shut, and he's going to show up to practice every single day. Then Joey went on to talk about Troy Polamalu, his aura of how he watched film and how he practiced and how he played and the splash plays that he created. It's not a young guy who don't want to be around that, Porter said. He talked about how even at the Pro Bowl, the Steelers safety stood out, though he didn't want to. Then Joey Porter went on to name Jerome Bettis. You're going to see what he goes through every day for the team, Porter said of his former Steelers teammate. You're going to see what the coach don't practice him on Wednesday because when he gets on the training table, you're going to see the purple marks from the Baltimore Ravens games on his thighs and arms. You're going to see why we practice him the way we do for him to be upright on Sunday. Just those 3 guys right there is going to be the definition of what a Steeler looks like, Porter concluded. Joey Porter obviously picked 3 great Steelers, and I'll agree with every word that he said. Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.